First off, there's been an acknowledgement from both militaries, from both countries and Indian and Pakistani governments that there has been quite a spike in the kind of cross-border firing we've seen over the last 2 years, and they've both agreed to ensure that they're doing their best to curtail that. So both sides have, in that telephonic conversation, agreed to curb violence along the line of control, which is the de facto border that divides Kashmir into Indian and Pakistani administered parts, and both the armies have agreed to ensure that they will reach out to each other every time there's any kind of misunderstanding along the line of control, and they will try and resolve this peacefully, either through a telephone conversation or through flag march meetings between the two armies.
And do you think, Neha, that this actually means the end of hostilities?
This is quite significant, I can tell you this, because since 2016, when that Uri attack took place, where you had a militant storm an army base in India-administered Kashmir, you've seen tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbours spike quite significantly. And in the first 5 months of 2018 alone, there have been over 1,200 ceasefire violations. And since 2016, 150 civilians and army personnel have died in these instances of violence along the line of control. So there is some sort of hope in the quarters. I'm speaking of civilians as well as those army personnel who are posted in Kashmir, those people who are in the crosshairs every single day when these ceasefire violations take place, that this will mean that guns will go silent on both sides. And we have seen this when that ceasefire was first agreed upon between India and Pakistan in 2003. We had seen, at least for a considerable duration of time, that there was relative peace and calm along the line of control, beg your pardon, and both sides hoping that that can be replicated once again.
Okay, and now let's go to Islamabad to speak to Kamran Yousaf there. Now, Kamran, what's the significance of this development, and was it expected?
It is very significant because first, this will bring immediate relief to the civilians living on both sides of the line of control in the disputed Kashmir region. And secondly, this will help diffuse the months-long tensions between the two countries. However, no one was really expecting this dramatic development given the current level of tensions between the two countries. We do know that it was Pakistan that initiated this process, suggesting India that we should diffuse tensions along the line of control. And India agreed to Pakistan's proposal. And it was rare that both sides in New Delhi and Islamabad issued a similar statement talking about restoration of this 2003 ceasefire agreement and avoiding a blame game that was actually the norm for many years now between the two countries. Okay. So this was very significant. However, such kind of development is not possible without proper homework. So there is a possibility that both countries might be discussing this proposal through back-channel diplomacy.
Okay, and let's talk about the resumption of peace talks a bit more. Do you think that this good news that we've seen today will lead to a possible resumption of peace talks between India and Pakistan?
Well, not sure at the moment, simply because of the timing. As you know, that the current government in Pakistan is going to complete its 5-year term this week. So for the next 2 to 3 months, there will be a caretaker government in Pakistan whose main responsibility to oversee the transition of power from one government to another. So their mandate will be very limited. So they will not be in a position to take major policy decisions when it comes to relations with India. However, based on what the two sides have now agreed, they can take smaller steps. For example, they can agree on exchange of prisoners languishing in both countries, and at the same time encourage people-to-people contacts. But as far as the resumption of dialogue is concerned, that decision probably will be taken once the new government in Pakistan is installed after the parliamentary elections that are due in July this year.